Hey, this is Pastor Dave coming to you with your Monday Mojo from my office. Don't think I've ever done a Monday Mojo from my office. Hope you had a great weekend. And this happens to be a classic Monday Mojo. By that, I always explain. Monday Mojo came about because I was having a conversation with Troy Hanna one day, and I said, sometimes I don't get to say everything I wanted to say in my message on Sunday. And he said, why don't you do a recap on Monday and call it something? That's where it began. And it's obviously morphed into something else, an observation of life moments and that kind of thing. But today's a classic Mojo because yesterday began my sermon series on stewardship and took a look at how God has put into place a plan for how no one should be poor. It's very interesting because Deuteronomy 15 is an unbelievable chapter of God's plan for taking care of the poor in the community of Israel. And it includes things like every 7 years the debt will be canceled, and every 7 years slaves will be freed. And it says no one should be poor, and that we should be very open-handed, and we shouldn't be hard-hearted, and we should provide for somebody in their poverty according to their need, the same way God provides for us. And that's just amazing provision that God has made. But it's interesting to me that God also adds on top of that every year we bring the tithe into the church, 10th of whatever it is that we make. We bring it in and we give that to what God wants to do through his church. Then it was through the temple and through the priests. But then every third year, an extra tithe is brought in specifically for the poor. God's just going way out of his way to make sure. And then he tells people when you're harvesting your field and you drop something off of your tractor, wagon, whatever it was, don't go back and pick it up. Leave it for the poor. Don't do all the way to the edges of your field. Leave it for the poor. Leave some of the grapes on your grapevine for the poor. Leave some of the olives on your olive tree for the poor. God has this amazing provision to make sure that nobody ends up poor. But here's what's interesting to me. All of those are on top of God's ask of us to bring the tithe. Wow. God is asking us to bring a tithe in every year of what we get. But then he's also saying, make sure that you leave room in what I give to you when I give to you and take care of you to take care of those who can't. It's an amazing picture of our God, a God who is concerned to make sure. And I asked this question at the beginning of my message yesterday. Do you think God wants anyone to be poor? I don't think he does. And he has these provisions in place for the people of Israel about how to do that in an agricultural community. But he also has that provision in place for us in how we do that as a person. To keep our hearts soft to the needs of the poor. To keep our hands open to the needs of the poor. The more you study God, even in the Old Testament, and the more you look at Jesus in the New Testament, the more you see a God who has this incredibly rich and generous heart to us. And he says, I want you to be the same to each other. Anyway, that was a little bit more than I wanted to add to my message from Sunday. I hope it's helpful to you. I hope it's a revealing way to see our God and the way he wants us to be like him. Anyway, have yourself a great week. That's your Monday Mojo.